November 2019. The Luigi restaurant on the south side of Chicago. You're sitting at the table laughing at someone else's joke. The joke isn't funny, you know that. But you laugh. Loud, convincing, with exactly the right number of teeth. Because the man who told it, Domenico Falcone, 58 years old, underboss of the Chicago family, isn't used to his jokes not landing. Tony is next to you, Marco on the left. On the right, Giuseppe, who everyone calls Pepe, and who in the last 3 years has personally broken more ribs than you can count without starting over. You know all of them. Really know them. You know that Tony is afraid of spiders and will never admit it. You know that Marco secretly sends money to his sister in Naples. You know that Pepe cries watching old Niro films. You've spent 5 years with them. 5 years you are not you. You are Carlo Esposito, 34 years old, from Baltimore. Italian father, Irish mother. You know how to fix cars. You know 3 reliable people in Baltimore who will confirm your story. And once you spent 7 months in prison for grand theft auto. That's true. It was part of the legend. It was planned. 7 months in a real prison. Planned. I still don't know if that was the smartest idea of my life or the craziest. Domenico finishes his second glass of red. He looks at you. Carlo, he says, you're like a son to me. You know that. You know. And that is the scariest thing of everything that's happening to you. Let's go back 6 years, 2013, Quantico, Virginia. You're 28 years old. You're a special agent of the FBI. 8 months out of the academy. You have a badge, a service weapon, and the firm conviction that you know why you came to this place. You came to catch the bad guys. Simple as that. Your supervisor is Special Agent Diana Russo, 42 years old, 20 years in organized crime. Hair pulled back so tight it seems like that alone is a form of discipline. She calls you in on a Monday morning, places a folder on the table. You speak Italian, she says. Not a question. A little. My grandmother was from Naples. A little won't cut it. You need to speak well, very well, in 90 days. You look at the folder, at the photographs inside. What operation is this? Nothing yet. For now, a proposal. She looks at you directly. We need someone to get inside the Falcone family in Chicago. From within. 2 years minimum. Maybe more. You fit the profile. Italian roots, no family, no kids, nothing pulling you back. You hear that last sentence. Nothing pulling you back. She's right. And that's a little sad when you think about it. I try not to think about it. 2 years, you repeat. Minimum. She closes the folder. You need to think about it. This isn't an order. It's a proposal. But if you say yes, there's no turning back until the operation ends. You think for exactly 30 seconds. Yes, you say. Diana nods. No smile. Then starting tomorrow, you're no longer Agent Connor Murphy. You're Carlo Esposito. And the sooner you forget that, the better. 90 days is not enough time to become a different person, but it's enough time to start. They teach you Italian, not the literary kind, but the southern dialect, with the right gestures and the right pauses. They teach you the legend. Carlo Esposito, Baltimore. Father worked the docks, died when Carlo was 16. Mother drank. He pulled himself up through the streets. They teach you how to carry yourself around people who can read people better than any psychologist. These people didn't survive because they're smart. They survived because they feel when someone's lying to them. It's instinct. It's evolution. If you don't believe it yourself, they'll feel it. They teach you to believe it yourself. 7 months in Baltimore prison isn't a legend. It happens for real. The FBI negotiates with the prison administration. You go in as Carlo Esposito, convicted of grand theft auto. You serve the time. You meet the right people. You come out with 3 contacts and the reputation of someone who knows how to keep his mouth shut. 7 months. The first 2 weeks, I reminded myself every night who I was. Then I stopped. Not because I forgot, but because it started getting in the way. You walk out of prison in February 2014. Carlo Esposito walks out. Connor Murphy stays inside, somewhere, waiting. Chicago greets you with cold and the smell of the lake. The first 3 months you just live. You rent a room in Lakeview. You find work at an auto shop. You know how to fix cars. That's true. That's a real skill. You don't look for contacts. You wait. The first rule they taught you. Don't go to them. Let them come to They come 4 months later, a friend of a friend. A man named Salvatore who brings you a Cadillac to fix and in passing asks, "You're from Baltimore? You know Antonio Greco?" Antonio Greco is one of the 3 contacts you got in prison. That was planned too. "I know him," you say. "Good man." Salvatore nods, leaves. A week later he comes back with a proposal. A small job, nothing serious. Drive a car from one place to another. Don't ask what's inside. It's a test, the first of many. They're watching how you react. Don't agree too fast. Don't refuse too sharply. "How much?" you ask. 500. 1,000. Salvatore smiles. Something in his eyes changes. Deal. You drive the car. You don't know what's inside. You don't look. You take $1,000 and go home. At home, you call Diana on the secure line. First contact established. "Good," she says. "Keep going. Don't rush." Don't rush. Easy to say. The next 8 months, slow immersion. You do small jobs, never ask too many questions, never show interest in things that don't concern you. You're reliable. You're punctual. You know how to keep quiet. That's valued. Through Salvatore, you're introduced to Tony. Through Tony to Marco. Marco brings you to the first real dinner. The Luigi restaurant, south side of Chicago. The same restaurant where you're sitting now, laughing at Domenico's joke. The first time you sit in the corner, you eat, you listen, you talk little. The whole night you say exactly 12 words. Exactly. After dinner, Marco tells you, "Don Domenico said you're the right kind of man." The right kind of man. 2 words that open doors that otherwise can never be opened. You smile. You thank him. You go home. At home, you sit down on the shower floor and turn the hot water on full. And you sit there for 20 minutes without moving. "I'm inside. I'm really inside. God." Year 2. You're no longer just Carlo Esposito who drives cars. You're someone they trust. First, small things. Being present at meetings. Passing messages. Being around when someone reliable and quiet is needed. Then, more. You start to understand the structure. Who answers to whom. Where the money is. Where the decisions are made. Every night you record it in encrypted notes on a phone with a false bottom. On the outside, a normal phone. On the inside, a secure storage where everything goes. Names, dates, places, amounts. Every 2 weeks you meet with Diana. Not at the office, in a shopping centre parking lot. At different places each time. 15 minutes. You hand over the data. She tells you what to do next. "Are you okay?" she asks once. "Yes." "You're not lying." "I'm lying, but not the way you think." "No," you say. Diana looks at you for a long time. "If you feel like you're losing yourself, tell me. We'll close the operation." "I'm not losing myself." That was true then, at that moment. But something is already starting to change. You notice it in small things. When Pepe tells the story about how he dealt with a debtor in Stocky, you don't feel disgust. You think, he had to do it that way. Otherwise they wouldn't have respected him. You catch that thought. You look at it. That's not my thought. That's Carlo's thought. But the difference between your thoughts and Carlo's keeps getting thinner. Year 3, February. You ride with Tony and Marco to a warehouse in an industrial zone west of the city. You're told there's a debtor, a man who took money from the family and didn't pay it back. You think there's going to be a conversation. There is a conversation, but you weren't prepared for what you'd see after. You're standing outside, smoking, hearing sounds from inside. You could go in and stop this. You have a weapon. Technically, you are an agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. You don't go in, because if you go in, the operation ends. 5 years of work, hundreds of names in the database. Everything you collected disappears. Falcone walks free. His people walk free. You stand there, you smoke a second cigarette. You wait. Then Tony comes out. He wipes his hands on a handkerchief. "Let's go," he says. You drive back. Tony tells a joke. Marco laughs. You laugh too, with exactly the right number of teeth. That night, you don't sleep. I should have gone in. I should have. But then everything. 5 years. All the names. No, I couldn't. Couldn't. I made the right decision. It was the right decision. You repeat it until dawn. By morning, you start to believe it. And that is scarier everything else. Year 4. Domenico Falcone invites you to Sunday dinner at his home. Not the restaurant, his home. That's different. That means you've become one of them. His house is in Oak Park, big, quiet. His wife Rosa cooks pasta. His daughter Elena is studying law at university. And when he talks about it, you see something in Domenico's eyes that looks very much like real pride.
Do you have family, Carlo? Rosa asks.
No, my parents are dead. No brothers. Then you'll come to us, she says simply, as if it's decided. Every Sunday, a person shouldn't be alone. You look at her. She doesn't know who I am. She thinks I'm a good man who wasn't lucky in the family department. She thinks she's doing a good thing. Thank you, you say, and you come back the following Sunday, and the one after. And after a year of Sunday dinners, you know that Rosa's favourite colour is blue, that Elena is afraid of failing her civil law exam, that Domenico's knee hurts when the weather changes. You know them like family. I shouldn't have let this happen. Diana said, keep your distance. I kept it, just not enough. Year 5, March. Diana calls at 7 in the morning. We need to meet today. You meet in a parking lot in Evanston. We're closing the operation, she says. In 6 weeks, we have enough, more than enough. The prosecutors are ready. Arrest date, April 22nd. You sit in the car staring at the parking lot in front of you. 6 weeks. Everything ends in 6 weeks. Okay, you say. Are you okay? Yes. Connor. You turn. She hasn't called you that name in a long time. Do you remember who you are? Strange question. Of course I remember. I'm Agent Connor Murphy. I'm 33 years old. I'm from Boston. I've been 5 years. I remember, you say. Diana looks at you, nods, but something in her eyes says she's not sure. 3 weeks before the end of the operation, something happens that you didn't plan for. Patrick Cole walks into the Luigi restaurant. You know Patrick Cole. You went through the FBI Academy together. You weren't close friends, but you knew his face. And he knew yours. He walks in with a woman, just for dinner, by chance. You look at each other across the room. 1 second. You see something click in his eyes. Recognition. Then confusion. Then he looks at the menu. Marco is next to you. Stay calm. He might not have recognized me. 5 years have passed. I look different. Different hair, beard, different clothes, different posture. A different person. You keep eating. 20 minutes later, Patrick and the woman leave. On the way out, he doesn't look in your direction. That night, you don't sleep. He recognized me. I saw that he recognized me. The question is, what he'll do. In the morning, you walk outside and find a note under your windshield wiper. 1 phone number, no name. You call from a burner phone. Murphy, Patrick's voice. Yes. Long pause. Are you okay? Yes. 3 weeks, then it'll all be over. Understood. Another pause. You've changed. I know. The job, you say. Yeah. He doesn't say anything else. Good luck. The line goes dead. You're standing on the street. Cold wind off the lake. He's right. I've changed. The question is, how much? A week before the operation, Domenico invites you to his home again. This time, just you. No Tony, no Marco. You sit alone together in his study. He pours whiskey. Carlo, he says, I want to ask you something. He knows. Somehow he knows. You hold the glass calmly. You look at him. Ask, are you happy? You weren't expecting that question. What? Happy. He looks at his whiskey. I've been in this business 40 years. I've seen a lot of men, smart, strong, loyal. Pause. But happy? Very few. You understand what I'm saying? No, I don't understand where you're going with this. I understand, you say. You're alone. You're 33 years old. You have no woman, no children. He looks at you. Rosa says you have the eyes of a man who's looking for something. You say nothing. What are you looking for, Carlo? I'm looking for a way to end this without losing what I never should have had. I don't know, you say out loud. Domenico nods slowly. I want you to know, he says, you're like a son to me. That's not just words. If you ever need help, any kind of help, you come to me. You look at him, a 60-year-old man, underboss of the Chicago mob. On his hands, more than you want to know. And he looks at you like a father. This is the hardest moment of the 6 years. Harder than the warehouse, harder than prison, harder than anything. Thank you, you say. You drink whiskey in silence. 5 in the morning. You're sitting in a car 2 blocks from Domenico's house. In your earpiece, Diana's voice. Around you, 23 agents. Snipers on the rooftops. Armored vehicles around the corner. Ready? Diana asks. Yes. In 3 minutes, we move. 3 minutes. You look at the house. There's a light on in the kitchen. Rosa gets up early. She's probably already making coffee. She probably thinks it's a normal morning. Forgive me. You don't know who you're saying that to. To Diana, to yourself, to the Falcone family, to all the victims you couldn't protect while you were gathering evidence. To all of them at once. We move, Diana says. You get out of the car. You pull out the badge, the real badge, for the first time in 6 years. It's cold in your hand. You enter the house simultaneously through 3 doors. Domenico is still in bed. He wakes up from the noise, sees the agents, sees you. He looks at you for a long time. Carlo? Special Agent Connor Murphy, you say. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Silence. Domenico looks at your badge, then at your face. How long? He asks quietly. 6 years. He closes his eyes, opens them. 6 years, he repeats, as if checking the number. You're a good actor, Carlo. My name is Connor. No, says Domenico, and there's no anger in his voice, only exhaustion. Your name is Carlo. You just forgot. They take him away. You stand alone in his bedroom. On the nightstand, a photograph. Rosa, Elena, and you, at Sunday dinner last year. Rosa had it framed. You look at the photograph. He's right. The interrogations last 4 days. You give testimony. You name names, places, dates, amounts. Everything you collected over 6 years now lands on the prosecutor's table. 18 people arrested. Domenico Falcone will get 22 years. Tony, 15. Marco, 12. Case closed. Operation complete. You're free. Diana hands you the documents, shakes your hand. You did an incredible job, she says. Thank you. How are you? How am I? You think about that question. You're free. You're Connor Murphy again. You have an apartment in Washington that you've seen 3 times in 6 years. You have colleagues who look at you with respect and a slight wariness. The way they look at someone who's been somewhere they haven't. Everything is fine. Fine, you say. That's also a lie. The first week in your own apartment. You wake up and for a few seconds you don't know where you are. Then you remember. Washington. Your apartment. You're Connor. You go to the kitchen. You make coffee. You sit down. And you realize you don't know what to do next. For 6 years, you had a plan for every day. Who to see, what to say, how to carry yourself. Every day was a task. Now there is no task. You pick up the phone. You scroll through the contacts. There's almost no one. For 6 years, you didn't maintain relationships. You couldn't. Too dangerous. You see the name Patrick Cole. You dial. Murphy? He answers right away. Heard the news. Congratulations. Thanks. How are you? Everyone asks how I am. Strange, you say honestly. That's normal, Patrick says. Give yourself time. How much? Long pause. I don't know, but you'll come back. You remember who you are. Do I? You put the phone down. Outside, Washington. Grey sky. A normal day. You think about Domenico. About Rosa. About the photograph in the frame on the nightstand. You think about the warehouse in February. About what you heard from inside. About not going in. You think about Tony being afraid of spiders. About Marco sending money to his sister in Naples. About Pepe crying at De Niro movies. You think about the 6 years. About who you were. About who you've become. Domenico said my real name is Carlo. Maybe he wasn't entirely wrong. Maybe the truth is that a third person appeared over 6 years. Not Connor. Not Carlo. Someone who knows both sides and belongs to neither. You get up. You walk to the window. Washington lives its life down below. People going to work. Someone laughing. Someone in a hurry. They don't know you. You don't know them. Start over. That's all you can do. Start over. You grab your jacket, you go outside, you take the first step. According to FBI statistics, deep cover operations last an average of 1 to 3 years. Operations longer than 4 years are rare exceptions.
This is connected not only to the safety of the agent,
But also to the psychological consequences. Most agents who have been undercover for more than 3 years go through mandatory rehabilitation. Many take extended leave. Some leave the profession. A few go back to work because only there do they feel like themselves. Which self exactly? That's another question.